Hello everyone, this is Bibi Cameron here, and today I'm going to be showing how to make these super easy pop-up cards using Scrappy Tails dies. One of the die sets will create this hexagonal card base and the other one will create an octagonal card base. And having these die sets make the process very easy. So I'm going to use this die set here that is called Valentine pop-up vase card. It includes this main die that will cut the base, decorative dies, and also this die here that will cut bridges or the inner parts of the card base, in which we are going to see all the die cuts or fillers that we will add to this card. And we need 4 of those for this card, and we also need 2 of these die cut shapes. It's very hard to show you, but the die has embossed scoring lines on this piece, and all I have to do is to fold over those scoring lines to give shape to this piece, just like that. And I'm going to do exactly the same with the other piece that is identical to this one. You will see that at the end of those pieces there is a small tab, and we need to add glue over that tab to attach these 2 pieces together like so. Then you will have this longer piece, and all you have to do is to glue the other ends of this piece to shape the octagon. So you see the flap here, and the end of this piece here doesn't have any flap, so you have to add glue on this side like so, and just bring these 2 pieces together. Another thing you can do is to lay the piece like so on your mat, and then bring the ends of that piece together like so they will fit perfectly in place. You need to make sure that the top and the bottom of the piece are aligned, and that's it. You got an octagonal shape. I'm using 240 grams, but I will advise to use thicker cardstock for the card base. Now for the bridges, they also have scoring lines, 2 little scoring lines at the ends and 1 on the center of this piece here. All you have to do is to fold over the scoring lines to try to shape a little triangle. So you see the triangle there, you have those 2 folds facing to each other, so it's a triangular shape, right? And then we are going to do exactly the same with the other 3 bridges. Okay, now we are going to glue these inside the card. And I'm going to add glue in this little flap here. Then I'm going to grab the card base and I'm going to look for a fold. Any fold will be okay. And I'm going to align the edge of that piece, fold. Now I'm going to skip this fold here and I'm going to glue this in the next fold. So I'm going to add glue on the other flap of that piece, just like that. And I'm going to glue it against that fold like so. And I prefer to use liquid glue to do this, to make sure that this is perfectly glued in place. You can also fold your card base and make some pressure to make sure that that piece is glued securely there. Now we are going to adhere the next bridge, and we are going to add glue on both flaps if you want and you find that easier. And then I'm going to place this piece back to back with the other bridge, making sure that it's aligned also with the scoring line on the card base. I'm holding this until it's glued in place, and then I skip 1 fold and I glue that in the next fold, or just align it with the next fold. You can see there that the edge of that piece is aligned with the fold in the card base. So although this die set seems to be very simple, it has been designed to avoid all the measuring, all the guessing. It will work if you just glue the pieces as they should be. And I'm not speeding the camera, so you can see how I'm doing this in real time. Now I'm going to add glue to this other piece here. Just like I did before, I'm going to allow the glue to dry a little bit. Then we are going to glue this back to this piece here, skipping this fold, and then we have to glue that just next to this scoring line again. So we place this just like that. We glue this in place, making sure it's just next to that scoring line. We allow that to dry a little bit, make a little bit of pressure to make sure that the glue is just dry. You see that those bridges are back to back to each other. Then we skip one fold, stretch this a little bit, and then we glue this in place. Now we are going to add the fourth and last bridge, and to do that we are going to slide this in there, making sure that the back of the sides of this little bridge are touching the back of those bridges that we already glue in place. So see there what I mean, that you need to wait for one side of or one flap of these bridges to be glue and then adhere the other one, because the pressure that the paper does in that area will tend to disattach that. So you need to hold that in place until it's properly adhered to the card base. So the bridges will have the shape of a star, as you see there, and that's the seed for all the embellishments or fillers that you are going to add to your card base. The only thing that you need to bear in mind here is that any filler you add to this is the width of those bridges and not wider, because if not, the card is not going to close or move as it should. So my hands are glued here as I had been making other cards before, and I want to show you the cards I just made. So I made that one using that exact card base. Okay, it falls completely flat, and you can decorate this to create different cards for many occasions. And don't worry, in a minute I'm going to show you how easy it is to decorate this card base. I want to show you first that this has been designed to fit a 5 by 7 inches envelope, but when I made this card I wasn't thinking, and this is a little bit taller and a little bit wider, so I needed a bigger envelope. You can also bear in mind that depending on how crazy you go with the fillers for this card, you might need larger envelopes or smaller, and you can use any die sets or stamp sets or anything you might have to decorate your pop-up card. Last week I made this interactive card that is a slimline, spinner and pop-up, and it has that Nutcracker that is super cute. I wanted to show you that this Nutcracker can be used alone, or it stands alone, and you can use it for a C6 card if you want to, or you can also use it for the pop-up that we are going to be making today. I also use other die sets by Scrappy Tails. All the die sets are listed in the video description, and I think they are celebrating Black Friday and they have discounts right now in their store, so make sure to check out those links in the video description. You can also go to my blog to see the parts of this card in detail. I have pictures there. And if you are wondering where to get this Christmas tree that is super cute, that's also an add-on to that slimline pop-up spinner card that you can see there in the screen in red. And I love all those elements, and I thought they were perfect to make the pop-up today. But if you are not into pop-up, you can also use those elements to make a flat layout for your cards. It could be any size from C6, 5 by 7 inches or bigger. You already know how to make the card base, and if you are planning to embellish this, please be sure that you can embellish this at any moment. It could be your last step or it could be your first step. I just put together the two main panels of the card, and now I'm adding here the decorative pieces that can be created using the die set. So I'm going to die cut 8 of them, and I'm going to adhere them to the card base. Something I do is to add glue over 3 of these pieces. And while I'm doing this, the glue in the first piece is drying. So when I glue that in place, the glue is almost dry, and in that way I avoid glue smearing. It really provides a really nice finishing. You won't see glue anywhere outside those edges. And well, that's a tip that I wanted to share with you when gluing intricate die cuts over a solid panel. So for this card, I just glue this before adding the bridges and the fillers. So the next thing I'm going to do is to add the bridges, but as I show you how to do that in the first sample, I don't need to show you that again. So here is the card base with the bridges already on. And all we have to do is to adhere all these shapes to the bridges. I mentioned before, and that's pretty logic, you need to make sure that the die cuts that you are going to adhere to those bridges or the base of those die cuts is not wider than the bridge. For example, the lips are very wide, but depending on the way you glue them, you will notice that the little portion of that is touching the bridge needs to be the same size of the bridge or smaller. And apart from that, there is no problem at all. To be honest, you can glue also die cuts to the walls of your box, and from there the sky's the limit. This took me maybe 15 minutes to fill. This is like when you have a flower vase in your house and you need to fill it with flowers and you need to rearrange the flowers in different ways to see how they look better. So this feels pretty much like that. And maybe you might need to also change things as you go. So there you go. You will find yourself enjoying the time trying to fill up this box, make it work. You always need to add an element and fold it and see if it's working. And it's a matter of experimentation. It's really easy to make, and I think it's a very different way to send a card. You don't have to be worried about front panels, inner panels, or anything. The card itself is a message. So this is the first card I wanted to share with you. Please remember that you can trim the elements so the card is not as tall as this one. I just lost my mind when I was making this and I didn't mind, but it fits in this envelope that is the half sheet of cardstock. Now I'm going to show you how to make this card here. It's very similar to the card we just made, but this is an hexagon. And the card base is wider than the previous card, but it still fits in a 5 by 7 inches envelope. Although again, I went crazy and I added too many fillers and this might not fit in that envelope. I never worry about the envelopes. I have an envelope punch board and I make my own envelopes when I need it. Or I can also buy the envelopes in different sizes from my local craft store. Anyways, let me show you the die set. So you have here basket pop-up card die that is bigger than Valentine pop-up vase card. And this also includes a decorative edge, a bow, the basket handle, and 2 different intricate dies to die cut the panels for the basket. So just by compare them visually, you can see that the die set that I just used is slightly smaller than this die set here. So all we have to do again is to die cut the pieces. For the card base, we are going to do exactly the same. We are going to die cut 2 main pieces for the base of the card, 1 handle, that is this piece here, 2 large bridges, and 4 small bridges. You can also die cut 2 small bridges if you want to, but those are the pieces I'm going to be using today. Plus decorative pieces I die cut out of red mirror cardstock, and also intricate details that I glue over those pieces to add a nice finish to the panels. So these dies also emboss scoring lines on those panels, and we are going to fold over those scoring lines. Then I'm going to glue these pieces together by finding the little flap at the end of this die cut. I'm going to add liquid glue on that flap, and then I'm going to glue this other piece, making sure that the edges of the pieces are aligned. Then I'm going to find the other flap in the other end of this piece, and I'm going to glue this like so. The next thing I'm going to do is to adhere the decorative panels in place, just like that. And once this is done, I'm going to adhere the bridges inside the card base. These pieces works the same than the previous card design. The dies also score lines in the center of this piece and also at the end of this piece, so that we can shape a little triangle, just like that. And then we are going to do the same with the other piece that is the same length. So we have two of those pieces, and then we are going to glue them in place. To do this, choose any of the foldings on your card base at this stage. It doesn't really matter. So we are going to align the edge of that bridge with the folding there. We are going to skip one folding, and then we are going to adhere the other end. Just align it with the next folding as I'm showing there. Once you have done this, you can fold your card base, test it, and see if that folds flap, and it does. So the next thing we are going to do is to adhere this one just in front of that other bridge. So they have to be kissing in the center, just like that, making an X. So I'm going to add glue in these little tabs here at the end of this piece, and I'm going to adhere that in place. And we are going to mirror the bridge in front of this. So remember, you skip one fold and you glue that bridge, align it with the next fold. So this is going to look like this. And then check if this move as is expected, and if this folds flat as you are looking for, just like that. Okay, so you have created this diamond shape here, and I want you to adhere your handle inside or in any of those two panels contained between that diamond shape, and I'm going to glue this just there. Now, if you want this to fit in a 5 by 7 inches envelope, grab an envelope, place it underneath your basket, and then you will find the correct placement to adhere the other end of the handle. It has to be aligned with the handle in the front, and there you go. So this is very nice just as it is, and then you can be very clever and you can just add your fillers over those two bridges that I already have there. And before continuing, I also want to show you that once you adhere the handle, this is going to limit the motion of the pop-up. So the card front for this specific card design is this one. You will have to see the handle as I'm showing you there. And bearing that in mind, you are going to adhere all the fillers. I also want to adhere the other 4 bridges. I found this very small, but it still give you a base or a seat to put more fillers inside this card. So again, we fold this to make a kind of triangle or triangular shapes, and all we have to do is to fold this in half and also fold the ends of these pieces. Remember, the dies score the paper, so you don't have to be thinking how to score this. So I'm just folding over those scoring lines created by the dies. Then I'm going to adhere this in place. And this specific bridge design that is small is designed to go within the fold. So you are not going to skip any fold here. You are just going to adhere this against the back of that large piece that is in the card base already. And then you are going to adhere the other end of that in the next fold as I'm showing there. Okay, we are going to add glue to these flaps here, and we are going to adhere this just in front of the bridge we just glue in place, just like that. So pay attention that those two small bridges are facing each other in the same way that the larger bridges are kind of kissing or facing each other. Now we have to adhere the other two bridges, and to do that I'm going to find the front of my card. Let's say that is this one, and then if you look closely you can see where I can adhere those without interfering with the handle. So I'm going to adhere one here in this area here. I'm trying to show you without glue. So I'm going to adhere that one there, and the other end will go aligned with the next fold, just like that. So that's now in place, and now I'm going to adhere the other bridge just in front of that one, across that one in diagonal. So this card base is done, and you can embellish this with any die set you might have. I decided to use the die set included in the Spellbinders Card Kit of this month that has been released a couple of days ago, and it includes a beautiful poinsettia die set. So I also wanted to show you that you can mix and match supplies. You might have some dies in your stash that you can use with these pop-up box die sets, and after you make one of these cards you will find that there are different ways for you to achieve a very beautiful pop-up. I'm just experimenting today as well. I'm completely new to the dies, so this is the very first time I'm using them, and I'm trying to figure out how to make a nice composition or a nice filler for these cards. And because I want the poinsettias to pop up a little bit, I added those little feet to glue them on the bridges. But as I was building this, I realized that I needed longer feet or longer stands for those flowers, and I was making adjustments all the time. So this was my first card ever done using that die. There's a lot of things that I would like to change, but for the first time I think it's okay. You might need to consider the back of the card as well. So to avoid having to do double work, I just added a bunch of leaves that I die cut using Assorted Christmas leaves die set, also by Scrappy Tails. For the sentiment, I made a T in acetate. You won't be able to see the piece that is behind the sentiment, that's the idea. But there is a piece of acetate that is between 3 die cuts, so that has a lot of stability. And then I adhered that on one of the bridges in the card base. It wasn't the easiest way to add a sentiment, but I was testing the waters. It would be nice to add a little tag hanging from the basket or something like that. And remember that you can make cards for any occasion, Easter cards, birthday cards, and you don't need to be worried about what to add to the front panel or in the inside of the card, because this is your whole card. You got a bouquet of flowers to send in an envelope. But remember, I went a little bit crazy again, and this card is bigger than the envelope, so I have to use bigger envelopes. Well, you know, learn from my mistakes. I just could not help myself. I was thinking all the time I have to make it small, but I could not stop myself. So anyways, if you see here, it therefore will go inside a 5 by 7 inches envelope if you don't add anything that goes beyond the edges of the basket. So everything has to be built within those edges. And I just wanted to make sure to show you this in case that you really want to make a 5 by 7 inches card. Please be aware of that kind of details, and that's it. I don't mind about big envelopes. This is my super mega big envelope for that card. And well, that's the second card I want to share with you. This video is getting very long and I get very worried about it because I know time is gold. But I also wanted to show you this sample I made using pre-printed die-cut shapes included in the Spellbinders Card Kit of this month. If you are a kit subscriber, you might have plenty of these. And I found that these are amazing fillers for these pop-ups as well. You need to add legs to these die-cut shapes, and then you will be able to make this in time record. You will also notice that the most you craft with these card bases, the quicker you will put them together, and the nicer they will look. We all need a little bit of practice and understanding how to do the things to make them properly. Every new die set, and especially those to create interactive cards, are a new adventure. So that's what is fun about this. And I also wanted to apologize because in a previous video, also using Scrappy Tails supplies, I mentioned that I was going to share these cards next week. That was last week, and that was the plan. But at home we have some emergency repairs to do, and it has been very time consuming to find someone that can help us. But that's done, and I'm here today. I hope you like these card making ideas, the die sets, and the products I have shown in this video. And that's all for today. I hope you enjoyed this video as well. Do not forget to subscribe to my channel or visit my blog for more ideas and inspiration. The links with supplies are in the video description and also in my blog in case you want to have a look. Thank you very much for watching, and happy crafting. Bye!